I'm going to ask you to bring your deeper mind to this video today and be serious with me today, because we're going to talk about life and death in your astrology chart. Bring the depths of you and buckle up for this video. I want you to pay very close attention to this entire video because we're going really deep into the realms of Pluto, and it's not for the faint of heart. There isn't deeper work than Pluto work in astrology. So I do hope that you are not meeting me for the very first time. I hope you met me maybe in my Venus series so we can at least have a little foreplay, warm up before we dive into the depths, the murky depths of Pluto. But in all sincerity, if you are here, I want you to know how blessed you are in this world. Why? Because you, my friend, have indoctrinated yourself into the incredible, the majestic, the magical gift of astrology. If you have gotten this far, you are a deep astrological thinker and you are hungry for truth and for knowledge. You are one of the blessed souls where astrology has actually found you. Consider how truly abundant and rich you are because of the knowledge and the awareness that you are stepping into and what you are about to step into. And really think about who you were before astrology and who you are now. With our journey into Pluto, we are going to go into a deep dive into the unconscious. This is my very first Pluto video, and I have done more than 400 videos on this channel. And maybe by the time you are watching this video, I will have my entire Pluto playlist done. So if so, please search for that and do watch it when it comes out. It is on its way. It is being birthed as I speak. You know, sometimes we feel in our life as if we have died 1,000 times in this lifetime. And that, my friend, is Pluto. And today we're going to explore, what does Pluto mean in your natal chart? Pluto is complex, and it is terrain that we humans, including myself, have not fully explored. It's impossible to talk about Pluto in a 7-minute video. You could study Pluto's power for years, for a whole entire lifetime. Before I do my video on Pluto in aspect, Pluto through the houses, Pluto in transit, Pluto through the signs, you really need to have a deeper understanding about what Pluto is and how it works and what it means in your astrology chart. I really want you to pull out your chart and I want you to look at Pluto in it. What house, what sign, and what degree does it sit in your chart? And I want you to know what aspects it makes to the other planets. And then I want you to rewatch this video. Get ready to have your mind and your heart explode. I'd also like for you to know the people in your lives, Pluto in their charts. And I want you to see what their Pluto does to your Pluto and your personal planets and your angles inside your synastry with them. Anybody whose Pluto touches your Pluto or touches your angles or your planets is somebody who you most likely have a karmic contract with. That's also including the nodes. If you would like for me to do a video on Pluto in synastry, how another person's Pluto affects your Pluto, please put a comment in the notes below. I will consider doing that if I have enough people interested in it. Pluto is a subject that is very scary to some people, and I understand that. So I want to speak about Pluto with as much compassion and empathy as I can. There is very dark stuff with Pluto, but there are good things that come out of Pluto too. If we are going to be good astrologers, we have to speak of Pluto in a way that allows you, the listener, to be able to work with your Pluto. A really good astrologer who has integrity in their craft or their art will talk about the blessings of Pluto too, so you're not left just feeling scared and fearful. We also need to look at Pluto not just literally, but symbolically and metaphorically too. This mysterious small planet, some people say it's more like an asteroid or a comet. It is made of rock material and icy cold, and it is the furthest away from us in our solar system. It is packed with so much potent power. So this is a vast, vast subject, but stick with me because I have 1,000 small gems to make up the collective understanding of Pluto. Whatever planet Pluto touches or is in aspect to in your chart, it supercharges that other planet and that part of you. It intensifies it, especially by opposition, conjunction, and square. And this is in relationship to your own chart and in relationship to another's chart with your Pluto and in relationship to transit. Pluto is where we will feel overwhelmed, where we will feel compulsive, obsessive, and compelled. It can also be very empowering. Pluto's energy can truly engulf us in the flames. It can melt us to just ash. This is the part of our chart where we may feel or we may recognize or we may experience catastrophic fears and phobias and just plain old catastrophe. Pluto represents the transformative power within us. It is what wants to be in our life or what will be in our life eliminated or broken down. We can experience an immense upheaval with Pluto energy. This part of our life will experience a tumultuous upheaval. It's also the part of us that we hide. It's the part of us that is also taboo, that is mysterious to us. Even sometimes we don't understand our Pluto side. It also is the pieces of you that are buried, maybe your shame, maybe your guilt, maybe your sins. Pluto is truly life and death. Pluto is also the process. Wherever it is in your chart, there is a process of surrender, of letting go through the experience of a death in order for something new to be born again. Carolyn Casey, who is just this wonderful astrologer with this zany, eccentric, and incredible, immense wisdom, she calls Pluto the rededication of the soul's purpose. And I would add that after you have experienced a death of some part of your life, your soul has to redefine itself. It has to re-understand its purpose, its value, its meaning. It needs to reignite its will again. It needs to re-examine and it needs to surrender to that goodbye, right? That goodbye of you, that part of you that you are losing or that has left you, so you can birth a new definition of yourself or that piece or part of your soul. Try that on. Really try that on. Let me know what part of you has left you, because that's probably your Pluto. And what do I mean by a death? It is where something or someone must die for something more authentically powerful to be born. It can be an idea, it can be a relationship, it can be a person, it can be a lifestyle, it can be a belief system, it can be your money, your home. It is something in your life that you think you need, that you can't imagine life without. We'll go into it more. But one thing I can tell you is Pluto is going to be, it is going to generate disruptive energy in your chart. Wherever you have Pluto, just go look at that house. Go look at that sign. That house is going to show you the subject matter, and the sign is going to show you most likely how it's going to happen. Pluto brings a great power to your chart, which is to yourself. This is where you will have a great power play. This is where you're going to juggle power in your life. So where do you feel powerful? And also simultaneously, where do you feel powerless? That's Pluto. This placement by house and by sign and by aspect to your other planets is where you will learn about power, sometimes by having it taken away and sometimes by having too much of it. It is the place inside of you where you have the urge to have power, to be powerful, to lead, and to have a lot of whatever it is you believe in. I want you to think of power and its glory and goodness, and also in the toxicity of it, okay? So power power is just a word, but how you use power in your life will dictate if it is for good or for evil. So think about that when I give you these big power people. And I want you to think about how they use their power and how they disabused their power. So Michael Jackson, he has the sun conjunct Pluto. Charlie Sheen, he showed us the shadow side of his death, the death of himself publicly. And he also has sun conjunct Pluto. You know, in 2010, he was the highest paid actor on television, and he earned almost $2 million per episode of that show, 2.5 Men. And then we just saw his complete demise. Look at Lance Armstrong. He is the disgraced cyclist. He was the golden boy, the all-American golden boy. And we watched his sad disintegration of his own soul's ethics, morals, and codes, right? When he seemed unbeatable for 7 consecutive years, he won the Tour de France and he was a force to be reckoned with. And that was between 99 and 2005. If you guys don't know him, go look him up. He got disqualified and banned from racing for life because he cheated by using drugs, by doping. And he was such an anti-doper and was on high pedestal preaching and teaching not to use drugs, you know, only to be using drugs. Yeah. Also, the multi-billionaire, I think he's worth $12 billion, Mr., or I should say Sir Richard Branson. He has Pluto rising, Pluto right smack on the ascendant. Pluto in your chart is going to show you the place where you are going to gravitate for security reasons, where you're obsessively wanting security. This is also the piece of you or the part of you that is very, very, very hard to change. It's not like you're just going to go out and change your Pluto. No. You are going to have a wake-up call that will most likely transform you. I like to say Pluto is where you will be forced to change, where it is very difficult for you to just change on your own. It's like a forced transformation. Pluto is going to reveal to you your karmic challenge or your karmic problem, and it's going to show you where your soul growth is mandatory. For the evolution of your soul, it is imperative that you grow your Pluto. You can't grow without your Pluto. And you may even feel frustrated wherever Pluto is in your chart, wondering why these lessons keep finding you. Why does this problem persist for me? Why can't I conquer this? Why can't I get over this? Why can't I let this go? Why can't I surrender? Why can't I fix this part of me? Because you are going to attract these lessons over and over and over and over. And if you believe in reincarnation, you will attract them lifetime after lifetime after lifetime until your soul sheds the ego desire of over-attachment on this subject and surrenders to the higher truth of the matter, the authentic desires of your soul. If you don't do your Pluto work in this lifetime, you can pass your traumas and your fears and your pain and your suffering down to those whom you birth and also back onto your future self. You're being asked to become wise, maybe even more wise than you are capable of, to become shrewd, to lose your innocence and your gullibility, to become in touch with what lives beyond your ego and what is below the surface in your unconscious. It shows us where we need to peel back the facade and see the darker, maybe the uglier, maybe the more raw, gritty truths that lie underneath your surface and become those truths' friend, to embrace those truths. Pluto breaks things down. It kills things off in order to rebuild and transform them. Big Pluto people, Pluto rising, Pluto in tight aspect to a personal planet, especially the sun or the moon, Pluto in the 10th house, Pluto on the ascendant, Pluto Jupiter people, Pluto Mars people. Those people want to or just will be put in a position to transform life. That's why I want you to look at the people in your life whose Pluto might touch one of your personal planets, and look at the most powerful people that you know, just somebody who has mesmerizing power, and go check out their Pluto. Because big Plutonian people will transform life in some massive capacity. They can become very powerful and very influential, and they don't even know why. They are the vessel of that power or of that truth or of that exposure to something new that others did not know. Look at Harriet Tubman, saved so many African Americans. She had an enormous Mars, Pluto, Saturn in her chart. Look at Florence Nightingale, who was the creator of modern nursing and saved the lives of thousands, tens of thousands of wounded soldiers in the war by creating the concept of nursing. She had big Pluto in her chart. Look at Susan B. Anthony, who was a champion for women's rights, and she was an outspoken advocate for the abolition of slavery. And she was an outspoken advocate for anti-slavery laws. She had a giant Pluto chart. Big Pluto people will feel somewhat compelling. You'll be drawn to them. They are magnetic and they have a mysterious power, a magical touch, like influential, powerful speakers like Tony Robbins. He has Sun opposing Pluto, or those who are cruel and obsessively powerful in their propaganda like Kim Jong-un, or mesmerizing and overtly powerful cult leaders like Jim Jones. He had Pluto square the moon and square Venus. Or politicians who have a lasting effect on life as we know it forever, like Abraham Lincoln. He had Mercury conjunct Pluto, and he also dealt with a lot of depression. What about wealthy, famous, mesmerizing actors like Leonardo DiCaprio, who has the moon conjunct Pluto, or Jimmy Fallon, who has Sun conjunct Pluto, right? Or Johnny Depp, Mars conjunct Pluto. You know, you can use your Plutonian power to become a national or a global treasure or a maniacal leader. Pluto is where we will face death of illusions and past life accumulative patterns that we haven't yet satisfied the karma on. And this is the part of you that is asking you to rebirth it. It takes courage. It takes enormous courage to work with your Pluto. Most people just want to leave it over there on the shelf. Pluto is the process of your ego's death and your soul's rebirth. It's the destruction and the regeneration of you. It represents the destroyer and the subsequent creator in your chart. Tell me where you have Pluto. Where do you have it in sign, in house, and in aspect to what planet? It's uncomfortable because Pluto isn't out there in the open just to figure out and to play with. It's actually invisible. It's in your unconscious mind or your subconscious mind. You can't see it, but you know it's there. It's lifetimes. If you don't believe in reincarnation, just think of it's the repetitive patterns of wounding and wounds in your chart, and it shows up from your unconscious. Pluto can feel like a knife at your neck and have you on your knees blindfolded. It can be a punitive teacher, and it can also be your greatest lesson in life. The purpose of Pluto will, if you face it honestly, will lead you to a more authentic, a deeper, a richer, a more rewarding experience of your deeper, true self. Pluto is going to have you in a power struggle around your greatest fear. I want you to tell me, what is your greatest fear? And where is Pluto in your chart? What do you fear the most? Think of that thing that you're most afraid of, and feeling like that very thing that you're most afraid of will actually destroy you. And yet there's a longing to pursue that very thing. So it's a little twisted. Maybe you have this like giant fear to become a singer or speak in front of a group, but you have this ache and this longing to stand on stage and speak in front of the group, but you feel like if you do it, you might die, right? That's Pluto. You might be afraid to do it. You might be afraid to do your Pluto. You know that you have conquered your Pluto, which I don't even know if we can do in a lifetime, but we know that we've conquered maybe a piece of it or a slice of it or a portion of it or a part of it, or at least we're trying. When we do that thing we are afraid of, and it gives us enormous and great and useful power that we don't misuse or abuse. So Pluto can liberate us from the shackles that bind us. Where are you bound? Where are you stuck? What pattern do you keep playing out? What pattern? Do you have an addiction? Do you have an obsession with a person and you can't break it? You can't get out of a relationship, even though it's not good for you? You might have a Venus-Pluto aspect. Are you a self-sabotager? Do you sabotage your own body? You might have a Pluto-Mars aspect. Do you have Neptune-Pluto in play? You might have an addiction that you do over and over and over. Breaking the control of that obsession is so critical. That's what doing your Pluto work means. When we dive into our Pluto work too harshly and we're cruel to ourselves or to other people, we can become quite sadistic. We can become even paranoid, mean, cruel, intolerant, ruthless, too truthful. But if we use our Pluto wisely and we can stand in our self-preservation, our deeper awareness of our longings and our desires, of our wounds, both literally, both outwardly and psychologically, and we can evaluate it and make new choices and even surrender to our higher self, if we will, letting go of our obsessive compulsions, we know that we're starting the healing process of Pluto. Pluto in our chart is going to expose us to what's not working right, to what feels wrong, what feels broken, what feels scary. It's going to show us our inadequacies at a societal level. Like, where are we inadequate in our society, in our sect, and where are we inadequate in our individualistic ways as well? Pluto is where our past pain is probably suppressed, where we might not even be aware of the pain that we have, and where one day it will be exposed, it will be remembered, it will be triggered, and it will surface, probably by a transit. Pluto in your chart will bring up issues that must be addressed in order to truly survive your world. You are going to feel the crisis in Pluto. And while it might be uncomfortable, it might even be god-awful painful, it might be just abhorrent, it is cathartic, and it will create a renewal and a rebirth, and it will clear out the destructive, self-sabotaging behaviors that you have. To understand your Pluto, you need to really understand, what are you attached to? What are you most attached to? Your home, your person, your partner, your child, your job, your crazy fetish, your taboo habit, your addiction, your religion, your family, your pet, your animal, your house, your body, your sexuality. What has shaped your identity thus far? Can you answer that question? If you don't mind sharing yourself with me, put it in the comments below. I want to know, what issues are you guys working with? How you know what you're really attached to is, what are you afraid to lose? How do you fill in the sentence of, if this thing, XYZ, leaves me, I may not live through it. I will die. What's that thing? That's what you're overly attached to. Yeah, try that on. It hurts. That's your Pluto, my friend. When I just think about that thing, that person, that animal in my life, I can't even think about losing it without getting choked up. That's my Pluto work. What's yours? Pluto is going to force you into confronting your fears. And once you confront your fears, you are forever and eternally changed. Your soul for this lifetime and lifetimes to come will be forever changed in the loss of that thing that you are overly attached to. Pluto really is about power, how you use power, how power is used against you, and control. At that core level, power and control. Pluto's job is to teach you how to surrender that power and that control. If you do yoga, a lot of people think yoga is like Neptune's work. I think it might be Pluto, because you have to surrender your ego on the mat and get out of your body. Your breath is what moves you. So I want to ask you, what are you holding on to tightly to, too obsessively? What are you controlling too much? I just had an epiphany. Ooh, I have to let go of my grip. I have to let go of my control in some arenas. It's not good. It's stifling. It chokes off the natural flow. Let's talk about Pluto at the collective level, and I could do a whole nother video on Pluto collectively, like for society, for the world. Medically speaking, and I love Judith Hill's work, she talks about how Pluto collectively creates cataclysmic plagues, genetic illnesses, bacteria infections, SARS, MRSA, and dun dun dun, COVID. Did you guys watch my video where I predicted COVID? I didn't know what it was going to be called. I think I did it in December of 2019, and I talked about the Great Conjunction with Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter. If you haven't seen that video, I really recommend you go and watch that video because that Great Conjunction with Pluto right there at the end of Capricorn, where it still is at, is what brought in COVID. Pluto is the underworld and the underground. So it's what you don't see. It ruled like the Great Prohibition. It is the interior of the volcano. That's Pluto. That's Hades. That's hell, right? Nobody wants to fall into a volcano. That is literally hell. That is Pluto. That's why I said it just can burn off what you're overly attached to in a volcanic way. It's the part of you that you can't see. So in society, it's the part that's running underground, the parts that you don't really know about, the hidden secrets, the lies, the immorality that might run different organizations, right? That's all Pluto. Pluto is the atomic bomb, the nuclear bomb. It is war. It is the destruction. Pluto is how our world is destroyed and rebuilt. It is, I should say, the destruction and the transformation of our world, of our earth. It is the war that we have created, or I should say the wars. It is the genocides that take place. It is the death of our beautiful Mother Earth. It is how we suppress people by race, by religion, by sexual orientation, by sex, by society, by gender, by status, by money, by power, by education. It is the plutocracy of our world. Collectively, it takes years to recognize the truths of these subjects, how we have destroyed ourselves, other people, our lands, our minds, our bodies, our beliefs. And it takes years upon years and generations upon generations to heal those wounds, to ultimately regenerate, reform, and to create a better life at the soul's level for all people, for all living beings, plants and animals. Pluto work is sadly very slow work. I wish we could do Pluto in a snap of the finger. We have great minds that have catapulted us into helping us work with our Pluto. Freud is one person, Jung is another, Carolyn Myss is another great, Louise Hayes. I mean, there's so many, but think of the powerful Pluto people in your life and how they are helping you transform. Can you tell me somebody who has a giant Pluto affecting your chart? Or can you tell me somebody who has a giant Pluto in their chart that you admire? Do you have one person? Do you know one person with a big Pluto effect? Let me know who that is in your life and what relationship do they have to you. So while I said Pluto is sadly slow work, it's unlike Uranus, where Uranus is shocking and surprising and it is electrical. Pluto can be the great destroyer. It can bring in earthquakes and volcanic, Mount Vesuvius eruptions, like Mount St. Helen here in Washington State, that completely blew ash all over the entire state. And it can bring in typhoons and massive illness that just, like COVID, kills millions of people. Mass destruction, mass pandemics, mass ailments. So think of anything that is an epidemic or a pandemic. Slavery, all around the world. And becoming free of slavery is the actual real work that needs to take place in order to be doing Pluto's work. So Pluto brings in the atrocity in order to grow your soul out of the stress, the challenge, and the trauma. Sadly, I wish that Venus could do that work. I think Venus can, but it's like Venus comes in secondarily to Pluto. Venus comes in afterwards to help us grow our value system, our new value system, and love. I believe in the power of love. You cannot know light unless you know the darkness. You cannot know true Venus or true Neptune without knowing the truth of Pluto. Think of all of the wrongs people in societies have done prior to our generation, and think of all the wrongs that we are doing right now, and who will inherit those traumas, those sufferings, pain. That is Pluto. That's the face of Pluto. So do your Pluto work, people. Let's talk about Pluto transits really quickly. Why are people so nervous having a Pluto transit? Yeah, I look at a chart and I get a stomach ache. Why? Because it is a transit where we have to reckon ourselves with a death. Most likely, it is a metaphorical death or loss, but we feel this deep loss of something that we thought we needed to be safe and secure. We thought we needed this thing or we would die without it. And we will most likely be wrestling with the god of death during a big Pluto transit, and it's dark and it's murky and we don't know what the hell we're doing. We don't even know how to get out of it or how to get to the other side. And it's no small thing. It is Hades. It is hell. And it represents our soul's unconscious need for security, for the ultimate security. Oftentimes it is a false security though. And those truths usually come to us in a gargantuan way through stress and crisis and loss and death and then rebirth. We have a tendency as humans to repeat our lessons over and over and over until we get them right. And like I said, Pluto is a karmic planet. So when it's transiting in your chart and it's hitting those points, this is your karma. This is you getting an opportunity to really work on your karma, and you remain stuck in your old wounds and your old patterns just to stay safe. Usually that's the reason why we stay stuck, because we believe we need to be safe and we just have to keep doing the same thing that we know, the misery that we know. Then our souls don't evolve, they don't grow, and they don't awaken. This is the death of your ego, because it's the death of the false security you're holding onto through the pattern that probably doesn't serve you. Maybe it does serve you, but it is still where you are overly attached. That's why it hurts so bad. That's why it hurts, because you are so compulsively enmeshed to this person or this thing. It feels like we're losing the identity, the very identity of ourselves. And we might need to regrow that part of ourselves. Whatever you are over attached to, it has become your identity. And then the loss of that very thing makes us feel like we have lost our very own selves in the loss of that person or that thing, that belief system, that home, that pet, that loved one, that addiction. If I'm sober, well, then who the hell am I, right? Because I've enmeshed myself into the drug or the drink or whatever the addiction is. And now without it, I don't even know who I am. That's Pluto. One thing that's for sure is Pluto will surely teach us through this pain and even through this suffering. It will teach us the truth about our soul, which is beyond our ego. So do you just have an ego relationship with yourself, or do you know your soul? That's an honest question. Will you answer it for me? I would be so grateful if you would subscribe to my channel if you want real astrology, if you want the truth, if you want deeper astrology. We go way beyond sun sign astrology. So like this video, share this video with somebody. Please, let's push it out. And also I would love to ask you to subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers. I would love it if you would help me get there. I want people to know the magic inside true and real and authentic and genuine astrology work. So rarely does a Pluto transit just skate right by us and it's easy and simple. No, it's rare. Pluto transits happen to teach us to surrender our control, which, by the way, whatever you think you're controlling, that's an illusion anyway. And it's inside the power of surrendering that allows us to get in touch with our more authentic selves. And these changes will either occur internally or through external factors that play out in our life. Massive cataclysmic external change that forces you into it. Through this surrender, through this loss, through this letting go, through this goodbye, through this death, that we are supposed to keep our faith and keep our belief strong so the beautiful, gorgeous miracles and magic can find us. And it's through that unwavering faith in self, in life, in humanity, in heaven, in God, that allows us to still find the magic. Pluto, natally in your chart and by transit, is going to birth your true power. How? By stripping away, by taking away, by killing off where you get your false power, where maybe you are enabled, leaving you only with your inherent power, the inherent power of your soul, the true power that you have gained in this lifetime. Let's talk about how Pluto transits bring us into crisis, death. And as I mentioned, it can be literal and it can also be metaphoric. Literally, it can mean facing the pain of your own death, what you're most attached to, or the death of someone that you know, or the death of your life as you once knew it. I rarely talk about my own chart in these videos. If you are a member, I love you. Thank you for being a super supporter. If you've joined my channel, thank you for supporting us. We are so grateful. And if you are, I hope you guys are coming to my Astro party. You get so many perks and so many bennies. So I hope that you will join my channel and become a super supporter. So I do share my chart. I share my more personal details of my life over there in my members only videos. And I rarely talk about myself in these public videos, but I'm going to share a Pluto piece of myself with you. And this doesn't mean this is going to happen to anybody else. This is just how Pluto has shown up in my life a few times. And my husband once asked me, he said, "Are you a cat? Because I can't even believe you have lived through the things that you have lived through." I mean, most people wouldn't survive one of those things, let alone all of them. So I do have a very big Pluto in my chart. It's been painful, very painful. And this is true. When my dad died in 2004, Pluto sat by transit exact to the degree on my Venus in my 5th house. And the 5th house is often considered the house of father. It also sat on my sun. So when my dad died, and Pluto was exact on my Venus and also on my sun, a piece of me also died. In his own chart, Pluto, by transit, was opposite his sun. I knew because I was doing astrology that I was looking at a death transit. And I knew that 2 months before he died because I could see Pluto in both of our charts. Transiting Pluto will bring changes whether you are ready or not. I don't even need to say it. I was not ready for that. I was not prepared for that. I couldn't cope or deal with that. I couldn't fathom that. It will have you emerge as a completely new and different person. I then, as many of you have already experienced yourselves, I had to figure out how to live on earth without my father. And I also carried the burden of trying to help my little brother and my little sister, 9 and 14 years old, how they were also going to do that as well. It was hard. Pluto is cataclysmic. And so if you have an event in your life that you want to look at, go look at that exact day and time and see what Pluto was doing. See where it was by transit in your chart. Pluto is a little bit odd with its orbit. It spends between 11 and 32 years in each sign because the orbit is like odd and strange. It spends 32 years in the sign of Taurus, but it only spends 15 years in Capricorn. I think in Scorpio it spends the shortest amount of time, which is kind of weird because Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. That's the modern ruler. It only spends 11 years in Scorpio. If you guys want, let me know if you want me to do an aspects video around Pluto. So we'll look at Pluto transiting your personal planets and the angles, and I will give you the definition of all of that. But for this video, I really, really wanted you to have an in-depth understanding about what Pluto is doing in the chart and what is its purpose. It is very, very big. It is a very big subject, and it's hard to even talk about Pluto in 1 hour's time. Pluto transits are life altering. Not everybody is going to experience what I experienced. That is true when Pluto, is sitting on your sun or your Venus, but it is a time when you are being asked to step into a greater personal power. And I will say that my father's death did just that. It made me have to be self-reliant. It made me have to stand and face the loss and the numerous losses that not having my father on earth meant, as I am sure so many of you have lost somebody or something that you have loved so dearly and so deeply. And it is through that loss that I understand what the word to cherish truly means down in the core of my soul. What you do with that great new personal power is up to you. It is up to how you approach life and what you believe in and who you want to become. There's a lot of free will with Pluto transits too. I could have taken that loss and just lived in total devastation for the rest of my whole entire life. I surely felt that way. I did that for about 6 months, and then I no longer could do that because I had too many people in my life that wanted me, needed my love, needed my energy, my time, and my affection, including my beloved dog at that time. And sometimes I find that animals are like, gosh, the only thing that can get you to step back into your body again. Now, again, not everybody is going to experience Pluto the same way. And I do want to say that deaths can be metaphoric, but for me, Pluto has been quite literal numerous times. When a dear love of my life, who was like a second daughter to me, decided she no longer wanted to be on Earth anymore and took her own life in 2020, I looked at her chart and I looked at my chart, and Mars was the transiting planet. It sat right smack exact on her Pluto. So Mars was conjunct her Pluto. Also, Pluto was exact on her ascendant. And if you have that, that does not mean that's going to happen to you. It depends on your life, your karmic contract, and what you choose to do with your own free will. So I don't want everybody to go out and think that that's going to happen to them. But that was her chart. Also, when I looked at my chart, now remember, this love of my life was like a daughter to me. I was like a mother to her. And when I looked at my chart, transiting Pluto was exact square to my moon. And the moon is the mother archetype in the chart. It is where you are nurturing and loving. I wasn't able to answer her last text message to me because I was on an airplane. 2020 wasn't that long ago. And to be honest, I still have not recovered from that. Did this change my life? Yes, forever. Have I been able to surrender? No. Have I been able to, even with all the astrology and all the awareness in the world, that I've gleaned over 55 years, have I been able to find the lesson and find the miracle in it? I confess I haven't. So sometimes we can't get past the pain to see the miracle, to see the lesson, to create the rebirth. Sometimes the reality is so terrifying that we can't even birth a new reality. After all, we're humans. We're so limited, right? I might not even be able to do the work that Pluto wants me to do. I might not be capable. I literally might not have the tool or the tools to do that job. I hope I do. It's only been 2 years. I'm just a person. Right? I'm just a little in a woman's body. I still might even just be an infant, truthfully, at the soul level. I don't know. I know that Pluto is destroying things that I find precious or invaluable or overly attached to in my life to help me surrender my ego attachments, to find my deeper truths about life and death, to open, as the amazing astrologer Richard Tarnas says, to the cosmic pantheon of gods and their messages. And I do listen for them, to know what it means to cherish and to value someone or something is to know the loss of them too. Death, and therefore Pluto, is what ultimately makes us wake up to our higher selves. That is Pluto. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for being with me here today. Thank you for being a member of my channel, a subscriber of my channel, and being on this astrological journey with me. Stay tuned for more Pluto videos and tell me, what would you like for me to talk about regarding Pluto in my next video? I'm wishing you the very best from my home to yours, wherever you are at in the world.